Welcome to the Write It Down podcast and happy National Bourbon Day. We are releasing an episode one day early on June 14th because it's National Bourbon Day, and some proud sponsors of the Write It Down podcast have graciously joined us again. The VP of Marketing Resist Spirit, Shelley Martinez, joins us. I interviewed her husband a little over a year ago, and I'm super excited to be connected with them. And they've given me some of their goods. I love their bourbon. I love their vodka. I love what they stand for, and I'm super grateful that Shelley joined us today and tells us a little bit about their ethos and how they're growing their company. And yeah, so this is going to be a really good one. And she is so amazing and so genuine. So I know that you guys are going to enjoy this interview. Sit back, relax, and get your pens ready because this is Write It Down. Welcome back to the Write It Down podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, on the mic with Shelley Martinez. Shelley, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. Been looking forward to this.
I'm super pumped to have you. Shelley is the VP of Marketing of Resist Spirits. Many of you guys may know that already as one of our awesome friends of the Write It Down podcast. I interviewed your husband over a year ago now, and I've gotten the goods. I would be drinking this right now, but I just came back from a bachelorette party. Oh, maybe I should just drink out of this. Maybe I will in the middle of the interview because long story short, we were supposed to interview last week. We got mixed up on time. So I poured myself a glass of your bourbon and I was like, can't wait to interview her. But that was before my bachelorette weekend. Yes. And now I'm like, I'm sipping water. Let's just put it that way. So that's where I'm at today. But Shelley, I'm so excited to have you on here. I can't wait to pick your brain on all things business, all things marketing, all things going into business with your husband and what that looks like. So Shelley, to kick it off, why don't we talk about where you were in life before Greg coined FKNG Bourbon and Vodka?
Yeah. So before that, I was doing contract work. I have a log home business. So I had my own little business going on. And so that was, my background. I had a little bit of an entrepreneur. Greg definitely has the entrepreneurial spirit, when he came up with this idea, and I knew it was going to take both of us. I would have to, step away from all my other little side projects to go all in on this.
Were you scared? Because stepping into the liquor business, stepping into any business is a big leap, but the liquor business as well, it has another added layer to it. So were you nervous about that, or were you just like, let's do this, super excited?
So Greg and I like to say, he's the gas and I'm the brakes. And so when he first brought it up, I always think of, okay, let's think what this means. What's this going to mean for our time, money? What's the success rate? So I'm thinking about all those stats. And I have a family member who is, he's retired now, but he was a top attorney in the alcohol business. So I told Greg, I challenged him. I said, call my uncle. If he thinks it's a great idea, I'm on board, knowing my uncle's very, very tough. Of course, him and Greg have a conversation and my uncle's like, go for it. And I'm like, I couldn't believe
You're
it.
like, I was counting on you to help put a little, pause to this.
But so all right. Okay. Let's do it. Let's go for it.
Wow. Okay. So VP of Marketing, what are some of the challenges that you're facing and maybe some of the successes that you've had in marketing? Because there's the digital marketing, there's kind of boots to the ground marketing. So what have you found the most effective when it comes to marketing Resist Spirits?
I think, besides consistency, being relevant to the times, understanding what's the hottest and latest trend, it's trial and error sometimes. You'll notice, I'll notice certain things like, hey, the reels are working with certain kinds of music. I notice people like to see people that are like them drinking the spirits, not a supermodel on the beach with a bottle and a martini glass. But I notice a lot of engagement with just ordinary folks having a great time, like when we do festivals or we do tasting events, and sticking to our brand ethos. And we understand, one of the hardest things is, and I think sometimes I think it's a character weakness of mine, and sometimes I think it's a strength of mine. I do care. I want to be liked. But
Same.
you
Don't
can't,
we all? Yeah.
you can't have that. And you realize, I think one of the biggest light bulb that went in my head is we're not for everybody, and that's okay. That's okay.
That's a humbling place to get to, though, is
yes.
to being okay with not having everybody be a fan.
Yes.
It's very humbling. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
absolutely. That's exactly right. So I'm like, I'm okay. I respect if you're offended by the word or don't like the booze or think it's not
great.
That's fine.
It's great booze. Let me tell you, I've taken it to parties. I drink it myself. I mean, I'm serious. It's really good. And I'm also a huge bourbon fan. So happy Bourbon Day, everybody listening to this.
Yes.
We're super excited. But I love old fashions. I love whiskey gingers. Like that's like my go-to. And when I tried y'all's, because I was like, oh my goodness, like how cool is this to be connected? And then you guys sent me some. It is delicious. It's warming. It's easy to drink. When you like take, not even taking a shot, but if you're just sipping on something and it's like, that literally is burning my throat. Like, not like, oh, all alcohol burns your throat, but like the kind that like singes the back of your throat. That's not what happens. Like, I was like, this is so, so good. So I have to say that and kind of hype y'all up. Not only because you guys are my friends, but because it's delicious and I've taken it places and people love it. But yeah, I totally can understand what you're saying. Like when it comes to the marketing piece, with marketing, whether it's a business or like your own self, you're putting yourself out there, and not taking things personal is a huge trust process to be like, all right, I might get hate for this, or I might be under a microscope in a certain way. And, businesses, specifically alcohol businesses or liquor businesses, are under a microscope in a lot of ways. And so there's a lot of liability. There's a lot of competition. And so what you guys are doing is super great. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your ethos that you mentioned before?
Yeah. So our ethos, we have it on our bottle. Our mantra is to resist being average, be fucking extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And on our bottles, you'll see bold, extraordinary, and attitude. And that's us. We believe in you do what it effing takes to win, to go after your dreams and your passions. We made our vodka unfiltered because it's kind of like us, unfiltered and unapologetic. We're not going to apologize for who we are. We're not going to apologize for what we go after. And so we kind of look at it as a battle cry. We think it's okay to be bold. We think it's okay to push the envelope. And we recognize we're not the only, a lot of people live an extraordinary life. There's so many extraordinary people out there, and they get up every day, and it takes a lot to be a success warrior. Just the attempt, I think, is a mark of success. Yeah. So that's kind of what our team believes in. And we have a diverse team. We have people of different backgrounds. We have Secret Service, we have Air Force, we have a commercial broker, we have an attorney, we have all different people represented in our group. Yeah. And to show that we can all come together as a team to make this a success.
I love that. I'm a huge fan of people from different backgrounds or different beliefs and all of everybody coming together for a common goal, right? And so it's really, really easy to look at people or to look at brands or whatever and be like, I don't really know if I agree. It's easy to sit out there and just kind of hate. But actually the hard work is coming together. And so you guys are doing the hard work because that just shows empathy. It shows grit. It shows a level of acceptance and enjoyment with people. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is we're living in a world right now where if you're different or if you're like easily offended, like nothing can get done.
That's right.
Like, you can't do anything anymore. You have to apologize for everything nowadays. Yeah. And so how in the world are we ever going to move forward if we're sitting here just on the sidelines nitpicking when, I'm just saying, like, I could be on the outside being like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this, or I can't believe they their brand is called this, blah, blah, blah. Or we can go in together and see like who the person is behind the player, so to speak. And so that's why I love being connected with you guys, is because the stories that Write It Down podcast loves to support is who's the person behind the company, who's the person behind the player, because we're all more than just the brands that we walk around.
Absolutely.
We're a community, we're tight knit. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you were in Florida, I want to see you, because that's how connectivity works. And that's how I believe true success follows, and more longevity for a business or for a friendship or anything like that. So I absolutely love what you guys are doing. I think it's so cool how we got connected. And I love that you said like, hey, I'm the brakes, like he's the gas and I'm the brakes. But you also, I feel like, add fuel. Like, you also pour some fuel on that gasoline, because that's who you are as a wife. That's who you are as a businesswoman. That's who you are just as a marketer, as a friend. And so I love seeing like the fire in your eyes to be like, let's go. Like, why are we trying to be average? Like, there's no need for it. And so I love what you guys stand for. What are some things that you would like to do, or places that you would like to see Resist Spirits?
Well, we're really focused on growing our brand and expanding into different markets. Right now, we're in Michigan. We launched in Kentucky last month. We're getting ready to go into Florida, go into your backyard. So that's going to be happening.
Okay.
We have our online fulfillment center that can ship to 32 states, but I want to be in the States. So we're focused on that, on brand awareness, and then just evolving as a company too, bringing on team members that can add value as we grow, connecting more publicity wise. So, things like this is a, great avenue to get the word out about us. I feel like we focus on a lot of organic growth. Last night, we did a tasting event at a bar, and people were surprised. They're like, you're the owners and you're doing this. Why didn't you hire someone to do it? And we're like, no, this isn't our backyard. We want to meet people. We want to talk to them. Yes, we cannot be everywhere at once. But I do believe a lot in organic growth. So our ownership team, our partnership team, we're heavily involved.
Yeah, I love that.
Behind the scenes.
So how large is your team or your marketing department?
So there's some things we do use. We do have a photography company that we use. And we have used marketing services of a few other companies. We're actually in talks with a publicist right now that we're probably going to use, as an added addition.
Yeah, moving forward.
And, there's myself, Greg, and then we have other team members that help out with the tastings. We have a brand manager. So yeah,
it's exciting. So the team is growing, the brand is growing. And I'm with you with the organic growth, because I mean, I was actually talking about this with a friend recently about, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and algorithms. And I was basically just saying, like, I understand the need to be on there. Like, I do, like, I understand that. But in the same breath, it's like, it's always changing. Like, when I first got an Instagram, like, pictures were the thing, and it was like, everybody was liking, everybody was commenting. Now it's like, you can barely get a like on a photo, and you got to have a reel, and it has to, like, it has to trend. I've had something trend on my real estate page that didn't have any sound and no hashtags. I'm like, how did these people find this? So I'm like, sometimes there's just no freaking rhyme or reason to why something grows. And in my opinion, I understand being consistent in those avenues, but that is so like unnerving to me. Whereas organic growth, word of mouth, face to face, tastings, being out there with people, I feel like is more genuine and more sustainable. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, you shouldn't try out there, but like, there's so many people trying in this space of reels and going viral that it's like, I don't even know what's going to stick anymore. I mean, I had a friend that got famous for making clothes for a toad. And then she was like on the Kelly Clarkson show. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how in the world, like I wouldn't even think of that. But there's some things that just catch fire.
Yes.
Whereas with the organic growth, it's a little more like it might take longer, but it's a little more dependable. And I think things that take longer are worth it in the end. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I love that. Happy National Bourbon Day. We're going to take a quick break to discuss today's episode's proud sponsor, Resist Spirits. With brands including FKNG Bourbon and FKNG Vodka, you can be sure you'll resist being average and be extraordinary. Make sure to check their website out, resistspirits.com, for a collection of their goods. If you would like to support the Write It Down podcast, email us at hello@widpod.com. Thank you, Resist Spirits, and thank you, Shelley Martinez, for joining us. Now, back to the show. What are some of who are some of the businesses that you've been able to maybe co-sponsor with, whether it's an event or a tasting? What's your like ideal co-sponsor situation?
So, we love partnering with the retailers. We do a lot of events. But what's really cool is when we do like a takeover event at a restaurant or a bar, or a nightclub. Actually, next weekend, we have, they're a really cool business. They have a liquor store, a provision store, and a wine lounge, and they're all three next to each other.
That's
so we're
so
going to
cool.
we're going to start off the tasting in one store. And then after we do the tasting, we're going to head over to the lounge where they're going to have food paired with our drinks. And so I'm like, that is like really cool. But otherwise, festivals, I would say, we'll do the vodka festivals, we'll do the bourbon festivals. And I might be biased, but we're usually at least here in Michigan, we're the prom queens usually there because we go all out. I try to be different. We do have a couple things to our secret sauce. And I would say pretty much every festival we do, we have people lined up at our table and talking about us.
I love that.
So
I got to come out to one of these.
Absolutely. We'll be doing them in Florida. We'll be doing them in Florida.
Okay. So where in Florida are you guys headed, if I may ask?
So the distributor that we're finalizing with, they're, I think, just north of Miami, but they have a team that covers the whole state.
Okay.
So we're aiming for the whole state of Florida. My guess is you will see us in the Total Wines first.
Okay.
Just because we're approved for certain, with our vodka and our previous bourbon, in the other states. And then we'll grow from there. We've actually made a few friends, in Florida that, have some influence in different markets. So we're excited about that. The friends that own liquor stores or restaurants. So, yes, we think Florida is probably one of our top states that orders from our online fulfillment center.
Really? Go Florida.
Yes.
Florida. I'm proud.
That's why I'm like
Floridian.
Yeah. And they're one of the top 10. They might be, I think they're one of the top 7 in alcohol consumption too, for their size. So,
wow. Well, I mean, we're very touristy. We know how to drink. We know how to go to football games. We know how to have fun down here. The weather is always vacation weather. So we don't ever have a problem getting a party, or at least I don't have a problem ever getting a party started. So I absolutely love that you're headed towards Florida. So can you tell me a little bit about the distribution process? Like, what does that look like from, if, nobody knows nothing about distributing, whether it's any sort of goods, but specifically liquor, what does that look like? And then the final getting it into a store.
Yeah. So in order to have your alcohol distributed to liquor stores, restaurants, and bars, you have to have a distributor. And there's 2 kinds of states. So this is a good comparison. Michigan's a control state. Florida is not. So Michigan has a bunch of rules.
It makes so much sense.
Florida's a little bit easier going.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of doing business. So then when you hook up with the distributor, they will be the ones that deliver. So if someone places an order, whether my salesperson's out there or if they have a sales team, that's who takes the order, and then they fulfill it and they deliver it to that store. So sometimes you use the distributor sales team. Sometimes, depending on the state that you're in, you might just use the distributor for delivering. You might have your own people selling, or you might use a smaller brokerage firm that their dedicated sales team might go out and sell for you. But in Florida, the distributor we're using their sales team, but we're going to go down and go with them on what we call ride-alongs. And what that means is we'll go with the salesperson, visit their accounts, and then I get an opportunity to pitch. And this is what we did in Kentucky. So they introduce us to their friend, they step back, I tell them everything, tell them the story, explain the brand, and then they place the order. So it's a great relationship with a distributor to be able to
I love it. And it's like authentic. And again, the fact that you're going to do this, you're not, some man behind the curtain sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're going and you're showing your face and like, hey, this is like mine and my husband's like we're in it, and so that definitely translates more. And anything in sales, like people can feel that, right? When you're just like, I say it's the difference, and maybe this is not right, but in my head, this is how I have it organized. There's a difference between sales and soliciting. That's like, I think with sales, it can be genuine. Like it can be about the other person's best interest. And it could also like serve a purpose for you. Right. So it's that synergistic relationship. Whereas like soliciting, it's like, it's why people have no soliciting signs on their doors. Like, don't come up to me and try to like, talk to me about nothing just so that you can get benefit from it. And so what I love what you guys are doing, it's mutually beneficial. Like it's ethical, it's exciting, it's fun, it's new. I mean, I've been in the restaurant industry for over 10 years. I bartended for, I think, like 6 or 7 years. And so, we'd have people come in all the time, right? Like being like, hey, have you heard of X, Y, and Z, tequila? Have you heard of whatever? And you can always tell when someone is just like genuine with you. And then somebody that's just like, hey, whatever.
Yes.
So it's really cool that you guys are going to be down here. And I laugh because you're like, Florida is so chill. Like with the whole, even with the pandemic, we're probably going to flag YouTube saying that, but we were like shut down for like 2 weeks. Like it was literally like we still wore masks, we still did a lot of the things, but like compared to everywhere else in the country, people thought we were crazy. But we were like, nope, let's go. Let's do business. Let's go to church. Let's go do the things that we enjoy doing. And so it does not surprise me that we are not a control state. So that is so cool. What are some of the other products that you guys hope to launch in the future?
So, right now, we have the vodka, we have the 5-year small batch, which we just launched. And then we did our barrel strength bourbon. So that's where we're just doing that as a limited release barrel pick to retailers. So what we'll do is go to a retailer, give them the samples. They'll decide, which barrel they want, and they buy all the cases associated with it. And a lot of customers will align themselves with the retailer and say, yes, I like your flavor profile. You seem to know what I like your taste. So it's like an exclusive thing. It's a special thing to give someone a barrel pick to. In Michigan, we have this one retailer. I'm going to give him a shout out, Chris at Bottles and Stuff. And he was always, when we first launched our product, he took us. He didn't expect anything, which a lot of people will ask you for things or have expectations that are very hard to meet. And I always said, when we get to do the barrel picks, I'm going to give him barrel pick number 1, which is like, it's a nice thing to do for someone because he gets to try all the samples and he gets the first one. I was glad we were able to do that for him. So coming down the pipe, we're very focused on the bourbon because our bourbon's been hot. In fact, that retailer that I gave the number 1 pick to, he's all sold out, except maybe he might have 1 bottle left.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. So the barrel one looks like, I'll show you the bottle. It's a little bit different.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
And so then it'll have the barrel pick and the proof and the store owner. But coming down the pipe is tequila.
Okay.
So that's our intention.
Tequila is dangerous.
Yes. I broke up with tequila when I was 20. It might come back. I broke up with tequila when I was in my 20s, but
might come back.
it looks like I might renegotiate that relationship.
Knocking on the door. It's so funny because I feel like I have friends on both spectrums, right? Where they're like, I won't touch tequila. That is from the devil. Like, just give me vodka. And then I have like other friends that are like, I only drink tequila sodas. Like, that's just my go-to or whatever. But the thing with tequila, the danger with tequila, I mean, there's a lot of dangers with the tequila. The danger for tequila with me, I think it dehydrates me the most. And I don't know if it's because I always have salt in some capacity with it, maybe because you're normally eating chips and salsa with the margarita or whatever.
All that good stuff.
Yeah. Every time I drink tequila, I'm like, my mouth is like dry, my throat, like all the things. So I steer clear from it for those reasons, but I know there's a billion other reasons why people do, but they don't need to steer clear from y'all's. But it's so funny how like our bodies and like our minds associate like some of our past drinking habits with certain liquor. So that's exciting. You guys also have cigars, which is amazing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we did some prototype cigars. That, my guess, will be a focus of ours after the tequila. Just because, with our allocation of resources and our team, we want to do everything, but then we realize, we got to knock down the dominoes one at a time. So that's one of Greg's and Reggie's passion projects.
I love cigars.
So that's in our future for sure.
Yeah. Well, I love that you guys are visionaries. You have big vision and big dreams and hopes for your company, but you're also managing it, right? And like it's a really cool thing that we have as humans, that we can dream big and we can see like 5 to 10 years like where we'd like to be. But it's what you're saying. It's like you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Like you gotta focus and you gotta perfect and you gotta craft something here and now. And then once you get that, then it's moving on to the next one. So I like that you guys are growing deep more than you are wide with your products. Like you want to perfect what you guys are doing before you move on to the next thing. And that's the same thing with that organic marketing that's going to last, and people are going to feel that. And so I feel the same way, even just with the podcast. It's like, I've heard it said before that how many times have somebody said like, wow, they're an overnight success, but they don't see the 5 to 10 years.
They do not. That's right.
Of the push, of the grind, of the connections, of the crying, of the praying, of all the things. And so it's super exciting to be connected with you guys that are big visionaries, but you're also going to do things ethically and you're going to do things the right way and you're going to push for the right things. And so I can see that with what you guys are up to. It's only been a year or so since I've known you guys, and I've already seen you two and the company, so to speak, but grow. And that's super exciting to be a part of. And I'm excited for the tequila. I love making frozen margs. That's like, I love doing it. So before we get to some rapid fire, it's National Bourbon Day. So we got to talk a little bit about bourbon. What is your favorite bourbon drink?
Oh, there was a restaurant that carries our bourbon, and they made a bourbon orange smash mule with it. And it was so good. I think it's my favorite drink now.
I want that.
Orange just goes so well with the bourbon, and they muddled it. And then, they put a few mint leaves on top, and it was the perfect combo. It's probably one of the best, because otherwise I probably would have said like a smoked Manhattan, but the bourbon orange smash mules.
That sounds so good.
It's with like number one
or something. Oh man. I'm like, ooh, I got to have that. Yeah. I love that. So I am going to ask you a few rapid fire questions before we get to the write it down portion of our show. Sure. Would you rather walk on hot coals for 1 minute or take an ice bath for 1 minute?
Take an ice bath for 1 minute.
Okay. I was like, man, the coals might be extreme, but people do that with like, I've seen it in movies, at least I should say. Yeah. But the ice bath, I'm like a big baby with ice. So, okay. Old fashioned or Cosmo?
Old fashioned.
My girl. Lose sight or lose the ability to hear? It's so very.
Lose Probably lose the ability to hear.
I agree. I feel like I was actually talking about this with some friends. We got in a debate about it, and they're like, no, like I'd rather like be able to hear like music and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to never not see anything ever again.
Yes,
like that.
You can read people's emotions on their face through your sight. So
Yeah, and mouth and yeah. Okay. This is one. This will reveal a little bit who you are. Sing the national anthem at a baseball game, or give a speech at the White House.
Oh, give a speech at the White House all day.
Okay, what do you think you would say? I'll give like 20, 30 seconds. I know this is not rapid fire, but what's something that you would talk about at the White House? What's a speech that you would give?
Oh my gosh.
I know I did not prepare you for this. So anybody listening, I put her on the spot with this one, but maybe you guys can think about this answer as well.
It's kind of funny. It's probably part of my own philosophy. But I believe that we're all responsible for making our own corner of the world better. I do believe that we need to come together, embrace and recognize differences.
I love that. I could not agree more. I think that speaks volume about who you are. I think that's exactly what we need to do. Is it's easy to focus on the macro level of like, the world's chaos, America, blah, blah, blah. But, if we focus on our own neighborhoods and our own corner of the earth, so to speak, the world would be a lot better place. And we've all been given gifts by God and opportunities and doors that open for us that are to do good and be good to others. So I love that. We are at that point of the show where I ask each guest to give the audience something to write down. So Shelley Martinez, what is your write it down?
Your reputation is your legacy.
Ooh, that gave me the chills because it's so true. It's so true.
And I had, that has been one of my mantras from one of my old boss when I was a commercial broker. And we talked about, I was handling leasing and disposition work for Fortune 500 companies. And we talked about the ability to get business and to maintain the business and just developing a good reputation for yourself, because that's what people are going to remember. And I thought about it too, not only for professional, but your personal life as well. Your reputation is your legacy. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be known for? What is the lasting legacy that you have left behind? So it kind of entails one of our philanthropic causes. We love veterans. And so one of our causes is we are donating a portion of our sales to the Military Working Dog Team Support Association. That's for deployed military dogs and their handlers. And I thought, yes, I want us to be known as a company that cares.
Yeah. And you can tell. And I absolutely love that because, I've heard it, asked before, like, what would people say about you at your funeral?
Yes.
And, who would go up there? And so I love that. Your reputation is your legacy. Shelley Martinez, thank you so much for joining us on the Write It Down podcast. I'm honored to be connected to you and your husband and Reggie, of course. So thank you so much. And everybody, happy National Bourbon Day to all of our listeners. Cheers. Cheers to all our peeps. And so I'm super pumped that you're coming to Florida as well at your company. Yay! And so we'll
see you soon.
Party with you at a festival. So thank you so much for joining us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Write It Down podcast. This podcast is a part of the 1513 network. You can catch a variety of shows on their website, 1513.com. If you enjoy listening to Write It Down, please subscribe, share with your friends, and if there's any ink left in your pen, write a review. For more content, follow the fun on Instagram by following at WIDPOD. That spells WIDPod. It's super cool. It stands for Write It Down Podcast, but it's abbreviated to WIDPod. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.